So we've gone through the types of buyers out there, and I've mentioned the supply chains that come behind it, and it's those supply chains that form the business-to-business market. And as an example of this, we're going to look in at a moment of a business-to-business supply chain. But what is a supply chain? So the definition of the supply chain is the business system represented by a series of inter-organizational relationships and structures set up to support the buying and selling of goods. Okay, so this is inter-organizational. These are organizations selling from one to another to support the buying and selling of goods. And I'd like to add an extra thing to that is also there's the services as well. So we do remember that product service continuum, and actually it can be a range of things that come into it. And we'll look at that in a moment. So an example. You'll notice so far that what they're doing here is telling you what they did. Air Products converts the air you breathe into products for daily use. I don't know if you missed that right at the beginning. And it is right at the beginning, it was a little tagline. Transforming the air that we breathe into sustainable solutions tailored to your business needs. Okay, so this is all about their Freshline food solutions range. So this is things that packaging. So for instance, the bags of salad that you buy, things like your yogurts, anything that comes with a vacuum seal. So microwave dinners, all of those things have augmented atmospheres in it, and this is what Air Products does. And you'll notice that business to business marketing is focused around closing that cognitive dissonance where it's solving problems, helping you solve your challenges. This is a leading global supplier. You can be safe in the knowledge that you are choosing the right thing. Okay, again, food grade gases, it's saying that it's reliable, it's the proper standards, you're not going to be let down by it. Committed to safety and quality. So again, you're making that right decision. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. You can watch the whole thing on your own. But again, you'll notice the type of business marketing tells you what you do. It's very much focused. This one is focused very much on products and features and benefits. What is it that we do? And when we looked at the last examples, you would actually be thinking that this is a product-orientated company, because you can see it's always about the product. So I'm going to take you back, right? If you remember, in 2018 in June, it was the World Cup. Okay, there was the World Cup football, we had the rugby, there was a lot going on. And one of the biggest concerns around at the time was the fact that there's going to be no beer. There's no carbon dioxide for the beer in the World Cup. And actually, carbon dioxide is not just used for beer, it's also used for things like abattoirs, it's used for stunning pigs and animals, it's used for salad, like I said, it's used for lots and lots and lots of things. And actually, just a simple gas, which we take for granted, is used in so many things. So it disrupted an entire supply chain and put quite a lot of industries at risk. What I'm going to illustrate next is the nature of the supply chain and how it can actually get impacted by something as crazy as a gas. So you've got the mining. Okay, now why am I talking about mining with a gas? But actually, carbon dioxide is a byproduct of ammonia production. Okay, so ammonia is a byproduct of fertilizer. Okay, so they mine the materials for fertilizer, they create the fertilizer factory, they create the fertilizer that then goes on into agriculture, growing our food, etc. The byproduct is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide then gets sold into pubs, restaurants, bars. It's put, for the gas that goes into our drinks. It can go into the raw materials for brewing. So, for instance, when you're actually making the beer itself, or the can of drink that you're drinking, and in the brewing supply chain, for instance, you've got the packaging, you've got the machinery, you've got the carbon dioxide, you've got the bottles. So each step in the process has multiple supply chains within it. So this is why it's so complex. You've got importers, distributors, and then you've got licensed retail that then ends up with the consumers buying it at the end. So you and I could be drinking a beer in a bar without actually realizing the sheer scale of the supply chain that goes behind it. And whilst this is consumers are a fairly profitable side of the business, actually, if you think about each step within the process to create that product that we're buying and needing to build in profit at each stage, how much does that item that you're drinking or actually cost initially? So it's all about volume, again, and understanding the complexities of those relationships between them. And you could end up working in any one of these industries, all right? Which is why business to business is so fascinating. So in the case we just looked at, you can see that there's a sheer number of transactions needed to provide the end customers with a taken for granted product, like a beer or soft drink. The business to business market is larger than the business to consumer market, as we've said already, and there's a distinct difference between the two. And while there are greater differences in the natures of customers in the business to business market, consumer markets can segment on behavior, psychographics, organizational marketing segments. You can see from the Air Liquide sample and the Air Products example that a product such as nitrogen or carbon dioxide can have so many uses that actually they don't target based on the customer, they target based on the application. Okay, so they target the application and the market appropriate to that will actually use it. Right. There's also greater fragmentation in the business to business markets, and it's far more complexity. And while there's often very few buyers per seller and segment, they've got a far more complex decision-making process. I read a report the other day that there's 6.4 decision makers in the average business decision. All right, we're going to be covering the business decision-making unit in the coming weeks, so don't worry, we'll go into greater depth there. Consumer marketing, as you know, is served directly and has a steady and predictable demand. Okay, they're less affected by macroeconomic factors and are typically widely geographically dispersed, whereas actually business to business, it is less predictable. So for instance, there's no price elasticity. So if the price of orange juice drops, organizations aren't going to suddenly buy orange juice cartons just because the price has dropped. They know how much they need to produce. Their production lines are running steadily. They know what their output is. There's no elasticity in the market. They're less price sensitive in that regard. And again, we're looking for that size. So we've already said it has a lower overall size, and again, the types of buyers are often similar. Okay. So through this, we've had a look at the structure of business to business markets, and we've also now started to look at the difference between business to business and business to consumer markets. And hopefully we've given a little bit more of an insight into the complexity of business to business marketing, but it's also the sheer interestingness of the problem being solved, how to approach it, and we're going to go through all of this in the coming weeks. Okay, so thank you so much for bearing with us, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.